Hello everyone, let's learn some tips and tricks of using Pentool in Photoshop. So let us start. The Pentool is used to create shapes as well as create selections around subjects. So here is the pen tool. The shortcut for pen tool is P. When we first select the pen tool, we can see here there is an option shape, and if we just click on it, we can see another option path. We'll first see how to create shapes with pen tool. Then later we will see how this option path works and how we can do selections around subjects with this path option. So first let's see how to create some shapes with pen tool. So what I'll be doing is, first I'll be creating a reference with a brush tool. We'll first start with a simple heart shape. I've just selected one hard round brush, and after that I will just create one simple heart shape, something like this. When I create with the brush tool, I will not get a perfect shape because my hand will shake a lot, so I will not get a perfect heart shape. I can see a lot of jerks and shakes over this shape. Now we will create the same shape with the pen tool. So let's select the pen tool and make sure that the option over here is shape, and here we can see fill as well as stroke. We can right now turn off the stroke. Just we need to click on the stroke, and here we have the option no color. And we'll keep the fill active, but we will also change the fill color to pure red. Right. Now let's start creating this heart shape. But before that, we also need to understand how this shape is looking. We can see sharp corners and rounded corners over this shape, and any shape has sharp corners as well as rounded corners. For example, this heart shape has sharp corners over here. So these two are the sharp corners, and it has rounded corners on the left and right side. So the rule of pen tool is, wherever we have sharp corners, we just have to click, and wherever we have rounded corners, we have to drag. So let's start creating this particular shape by following this particular rule. So let's activate the pen tool, and I will be starting at this point. So this point is a sharp corner, so we have to just click, and then we need to come here, and we can see this is a rounded corner. So when we see the rounded corner, we have to first click, and we should not release the mouse. We should then drag, and when we are dragging, we need to observe the angle in which we are dragging. So how we can know the angle? So we can see the reference, and we have to just adjust the angle according to the reference. So this is the correct angle. Then we have to come to this point. This point is again a sharp corner. So the rule of pen tool is, when you see a sharp corner, we just have to click. That's it. And now again we have to come to this corner which is rounded. And what is the rule for rounded corner? The rule for rounded corner is, we have to first click, and we should not release the mouse, and immediately we have to drag. And when we are dragging, we should also observe the angle in which we are dragging. We can check the reference, and we can drag according to the reference. And now we have to complete the shape. We have to end at the same point where we have started by clicking on this point, because this point is a sharp corner. So now we have completed this shape. Right, now I don't need the reference. I will just simply delete the background layer. Now let's adjust the shape and make it into a proper looking heart shape. So for that we need to select the direct selection tool. Here we have the shortcut A. There is also another way of accessing the direct selection tool, that is, let's say right now the pen tool is active, and if we want to adjust this point, we can simply hold Ctrl in PC or Command in Mac and click on this point. So automatically that point changes into direct selection tool. So we can now adjust these points. So we have to check whether the direct selection tool is active or not. The shortcut for that direct selection tool is A, and in case we have to select this by using shortcuts, we can use Shift A, because here we have two tools. One is the path selection. With path selection we are going to select the entire shape, but with direct selection tool we will be adjusting the individual points. So something like this. So this is something we need to remember. Right. So once the direct selection tool is active, we can just drag these points and adjust the shape properly. So here we are adjusting the shape properly. Right. So now we have adjusted the shape, and if we want to give some colors, or let's say gradient colors to this particular shape, we can give gradient colors. Here we have the option fill. So right now we have applied a plain color to this shape. So if we want gradient colors, here we have the option gradient. Just click on the gradient, and now we can just give some gradient colors to this particular heart shape. So something like this. And we can change the gradient style from linear to radial, and we can just click on this reverse, and we can also change the light color to a light reddish color. So something like this. So this is how we can just create a simple shape using the pen tool. Right now this shape is having 4 points. If we want to add more points, here we have add anchor point tool. We can select this, and then we can add some extra points over this heart shape. And then we can select the direct selection tool and adjust these points, and we can just modify the shape. Now the heart shape is looking different. And if we want to delete these points, we can again select the option delete anchor point tool, and then we can just click on these points to delete the points. In the latest versions of Pentool, we don't have to use this option add anchor point tool or delete anchor point tool to add or delete the points by continuously selecting these two tools. There is also one easy way of doing this. So what we can do is we can simply hold Alt in PC or Option in Mac, and then just click here, click on this shape, and then we can just select the pen tool here, and then we can just add 1 point. So this option or this procedure is only available in the latest versions. And then if we want to delete the same point, we can just take our mouse on top of that particular point and then click. So here I am not at all using the add anchor point or delete anchor point tools. Directly I am deleting these points just by taking my mouse over those points. So if I want to delete this particular point, I will just take my mouse over that particular point and click on that point. So we can see here. So how I have deleted the points. And again, if you want to add the point, just take your mouse over an empty area and then click. That's it. So now we have added the point. And to adjust the point, we can hold Control in PC or Command in Mac and then simply drag the point. So this is how we can use the pen tool and the pen tool options. There is also one more tool here, that is convert point tool. So here it is the convert point tool. So with the convert point tool, we can turn sharp corners into rounded and rounded corners into sharp. So first let's delete these unwanted points. So what we can do is we can just activate the pen tool and we can just take our mouse on top of these points, and first let's delete these unwanted points, and then we can use the direct selection tool, or we can hold Control in PC or Command in Mac and then just modify the shape a little bit, something like this. And then what we'll be doing is we'll now select the convert point tool, and just we need to take the tool and drag the sharp corner. So just we'll take the tool and on top of the sharp corner and drag. So now the sharp corner has turned into a rounded corner, and we can do the same thing by dragging this bottom point. So see, now we have totally modified the shape. And if I do the same experiment on these rounded corners, so what will happen? The rounded corners are going to become sharp corners. So see, now we have completely modified the shape. Again, I can bring back the heart shape. So what I can do is I can again select the convert point tool, and if I want to make these sharp corners rounded, I just have to drag these points with the convert point tool. That's it. And again, if I want to make these 2 points which are now rounded, and if I want to make these 2 points sharp, I can just click on them. That's it. Now we are back to the heart shape. So this is how we can use the pen tool to create shapes. Let's create more shapes with pen tool. The next shape we'll be creating with pen tool is a leaf shape. Again, just like before, we will create a reference with the brush tool. So we'll select the hard rounded brush and we'll just create a leaf shape, something like this. So this is a simple leaf shape. Now we'll create the same shape with a pen tool. Again, we will analyze the shape. See, here we can see a sharp corner, and here also we can see the sharp corners for this particular leaf shape, and here we can see the rounded corners. So again, we will use the same rule of pen tool, where we have to click on sharp corners and drag on rounded corners. So we'll activate the pen tool. We'll start from the sharp corner. We just have to click here. Just click, 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 and now when we reach the rounded corner, we have to first click. We need to hold our mouse tightly and then drag. So this is a common mistake that we'll be doing when we are trying to create shapes for the first time with the pen tool. See, the most common mistake that we generally do is when we are creating shapes, and when we reach the rounded corner, when we are about to create the rounded corner, we generally click and release the mouse and then drag. So this is wrong. So this is the common mistake that we'll be doing. So this is not the way to create. So what we have to do is, when we are creating rounded corners with pen tool, we have to hold on to our mouse tightly and then immediately we have to drag. And only after dragging we have to release the mouse. So this is a very important thing to keep in mind. And then after that we have to again come to this sharp corner and then we have to click. And we'll again create a rounded corner. Just we have to click and then we have to drag immediately, and then we have to finish the shape. And here is the sharp corner, we just have to click. So we have completed the leaf shape. We'll now delete the reference. We'll activate the direct selection tool, and we will just adjust these points. So these two extra points are created only when we drag. When we click, only a single point is created. So I have slightly modified the shape of the leaf. It doesn't look like the reference. Right. Now we will give some colors to our leaf. So here we have the fill color, and we can also give some gradient colors. Just we have to select this gradient option. We just have to select a dark green and a light green gradient. So something like this. So here we have created a simple leaf shape. Let's create two more shapes. Let's now create a little bit complicated shape. The next shape we'll be creating is the fish shape. So again, let's take the reference. See here, why we are creating reference? Because when we use the pen tool for the first time, we don't actually remember the actual shape. Means we can't imagine the shape and create it. We have to see the illustration of the shape, and only by looking at the illustration we can create the shape. So once we understand the logic or the methodology of pen tool, we don't need any reference, and we can straight away create any shape with our imagination. So we will create a reference. We'll create a reference of fish. So again, I am using the brush tool, and I will create a simple fish shape. So this is a simple fish. So we can also put teeth for this fish. We can also create eyes. And then we will also create fins for this fish. Right. So here, this fish is a little bit complicated shape, because the fish has too many rounded corners. So means we have to drag a lot. We can just check the fish. So see here, we have a lot of rounded corners here. Very few sharp corners are there. So we have to work a little bit hard here to create this particular shape. So again, like always, we'll start near the sharp corner and then complete the shape. So we'll activate the pen tool. We'll start from the mouth. Here we have the sharp corner. We just have to click, click, and we'll come here. This is a rounded corner. We have to drag, and to drag we have to first click, and then without releasing the mouse we have to drag, and we need to check the angle in which we are dragging. And we'll come here, and again this is a rounded corner. We have to drag, drag. We'll click here, we'll drag, and we will drag again. We'll drag again. We'll click here. So when we first create the shape, it may not be perfect. We have to adjust these points. So now we got a rough shape here. We have only created the body. We will create the fins later. First, let's adjust the shape. Activate the direct selection tool. Here is the direct selection tool, and we will adjust the shape properly. We can also add some extra points if we want. but let's not do it right now. First let's finish off the shape. Right, so we have created the shape, and now let's create the fins. This time I will be deleting the reference and I will create fins completely with my imagination. I do remember how the rounded corners and sharp corners are there over the fins. So now I will be creating the fins with my imagination. So let's activate the pen tool and then let's create the fins. Right, so again let's create the bottom fin. Something like this. And we can also do one more thing, that is we can slightly modify the shape of the fish. We don't have to keep the fish just like the reference. We can modify it. So we'll just select the shape layer, the body of the fish, and we will use the direct selection tool and we can modify it. So we can just make it look like a cartoonish fish, something like this. And we can also adjust the fins here. So if you want to select this entire fin, right now the direct selection tool is active, so we will make the path selection tool active, and now we are able to select the entire fin, and we will activate the transform tool and we will rotate, and now we can adjust it like this. That's it. And we can also do the same thing for the bottom fin. We can adjust it properly, and we can again adjust the bottom portion of the fish. We can just change the shape a little bit. So we can see here how we are able to change. So we can see how I am moving the points of these handles and modifying the shape of the fish completely. And we can also do one more thing. We can add one extra point here. So how we can add the point? We can activate the pen tool and then we can just click on that empty space. So now an extra point is added and we can just move this point. So now we can see. So we can see how I am modifying the shape or look of the fish. And we will select the bottom fin here by using the path selection tool, and then we will place it over here. And we can also rotate it by activating the transform tool. We can make it small. Right. Now we will add some eyes and teeth to this particular fish. So for eyes, what we will be doing is we will take a new layer, and this time instead of pen tool I will be using elliptical marquee tool. So we'll just select the elliptical marquee tool and we will first create a big circle, and then we will give a color to this. We will give a bluish color. Right. And then we'll take a duplicate of this layer and we will slightly make it small, and then we will give this inside of the eye yellow color, and then we'll take one more duplicate and we'll make it small, and then we will give the inside circle a pure black color, something like this, and we will also make it a little bit small. So you can just keep it over here to the side. We can select both the yellow and the black circles. We can make them a little bit big, and to make it more interesting, we can add a reflection to this eyes. So for that, what we'll do, we'll take one more duplicate, and this time we'll give a white color, and we will also make the white circle small. We'll just keep it over here. So this is like a small reflection. We have to make it a little bit small. So this much is okay. Right. So this is a fish, and what we will do is now we will add teeth. So we'll select the pen tool, and just we will create the teeth for the fish. You can give a red color. We can change these colors later. So something like this. So we have so many layers here. Now we will select all these layers. We will right click on the layers, and here we have the option convert to smart object. So now we got a single layer. Means now this entire shape is a single shape. We can make it small or big, and we can also do one more thing. We can take multiple duplicates. So something like this. And also there is one thing we can do. Here we have converted all these shapes to smart objects. So if you want to change the color of all the fishes, right now the color of the fishes is red. If we don't want red color, what we can do is we can simply double click on this icon. This is a smart object icon. You can click any one of the smart objects, double click on the icon and open a new document. And see here, one more document has opened. Now if we want to change the color, so what we can do is we will select the shape of the fish. We will first select the body of the fish, and we will activate the pen tool. Here we have the fill. Let's make it blue color, or let's say a yellow fish. So we have made it into a yellow fish, or we can make it into an orange color fish. So this is an orange color fish. We will also have to change the fins color. So we will just select the fin layer and then pick this color. So we have to select the another fin, and we'll do the same thing. And we will also change the color of the teeth. Just we have to pick the color. So now we have made our fish into an orange fish. Now we will save the changes. That's very important. So we need to save the changes, and if we come back to our original document, we can see orange fishes. And let us say if one of the fish has to be in a different color instead of orange color. Here all fishes have got the orange color because we have only changed one fish color. The color of only one fish we have changed. But because it is a smart object, the smart objects have links to each other. So if you modify one smart object, the other smart objects are also going to change. So what we can do is, if you want a separate color for one of the fishes, we have to rasterize that particular smart object layer. So we simply have to right click and select the option rasterize layer. Now what we'll be doing is we will just select the magic wand tool, click on this fish so that the entire body of the fish is selected, and now we can just change its color. Let's make it into a blue fish, or let's select a dark bluish color. Right. So now one of the fish has a blue color. So this is how we can create a complex shape with pen tool. The last shape we'll be creating with pen tool is the flower shape. So again, let's take a reference. So with the brush tool, we may not get a perfect flower shape because our hands will shake a lot. So this is a rough shape of flower. Now we will create the same flower with the pen tool. So we will analyze the shape again. So here we can see a lot of rounded corners, and here we can see a lot of sharp corners. So we will again follow the rule of the pen tool. At the sharp corners we have to click, and at the rounded corners we have to drag. And when we are dragging, we need to check the angle in which we are dragging. If we drag a lot, we are not going to get a proper shape, and if we drag a very little, still we are not getting a proper perfect shape. So we have to drag according to the reference. So this is the proper angle, and we'll drag again, we'll click, drag, drag, we'll click, we'll drag again, and first we will complete the shape. Later we can adjust the shape. Right, so now we got the shape. We'll now delete the reference. Now let's adjust the shape properly. So what we can do is we can just simply hold Ctrl and click on these points, so that we will be activating the direct selection tool. And see, when we release the mouse, here it is coming back to the pen tool. So what we can do is we can click on the direct selection tool icon here, or the tool in the tools panel, so that we can only see the direct selection tool even if we click on these points. So if you think the control click or command click is not a good option, we can use the direct selection tool directly from the tools panel. So now let's modify the shape. So we need to get a proper flower shape. So these are handles. You can also call them extra points. So these handles are created only if we drag. So if we click, we'll just get a single point. Right, so now we got the shape of the flower. Now let's apply some colors to it. So here we have the fill. Let's directly apply a gradient to it. And one more thing to remember is we can also add a stroke to this flower. So we can see I have added one stroke, and we can increase the stroke size, so but it's not appearing properly. We can also add a gradient to the stroke. If we want a separate gradient, we can add a separate gradient. Let's say a red and let's say green gradient, so something like this. But the stroke is not looking nice. We can turn off the stroke. How to turn off the stroke? Here we have the option, no color. Right. So this is just optional. So now we will apply a gradient fill to the flower. So we will use a red as well as yellow for the flower, and we will change the gradient style to radial. And here we will also click on this option reverse, so that the red color is at the corners and the yellow color is at the center. Or we can say orange color. We can make it yellowish if you want. Right, so something like this. And we will also create a bulb at the center. So we can just take a new layer. We will select the elliptical marquee tool, and if we want perfect ellipse, we can hold shift and create this elliptical marquee tool. We want a perfect ellipse now, and we can fill the ellipse with a blue color. So we can just keep it at the center. Right. So then what we can do is we can select both these layers and we can make them into a smart object, so that this entire shape becomes a single object. So we can just scale it down. And now we will add stem to this flower. So right now I don't have to create a reference, because now we got used to the pen tool. After creating these many shapes, now we understood the logic of pen tool. We don't need any reference. We can directly use our imagination and create any other shape. So we'll be creating a stem for this flower. So we'll start at the center here, center of the flower, and then we will just drag and create a stem. The stem has to be very thin. So you can just keep dragging, because the stem is rounded. So we got a rough shape of the stem. Now we will use the direct selection tool, and we will just modify these points, or we can say handles. So just we need to be patient. We'll just adjust these points properly. You can also add or delete some points. Right. So now we have adjusted the stem. So now what we'll be doing is we will also add some leaves to this particular stem. So we can just put the stem layer below the flower layer, and we will select the pen tool. And again, for the leaf we don't need any reference. In the beginning we need reference. Right now we don't need any reference. Directly we will create the leaf. So this is the leaf, and we will also change the color of the leaf as well as the stem. So we'll first adjust it properly, adjust the leaf properly here. And we will make it small, and we will also select the path selection tool to select the entire leaf, and we can hold Alt and PC or Option and Mac to take a duplicate of this leaf, and we will flip it. Right click on it and select flip horizontal. We can make it a little bit small. Now let's change the color of these leaves and stem. First we want the stem color to be green, and then we will also change the leaf color. We'll pick the same green color here. Right. So now we have changed the color of the leaf as well as of the stem. So now what we'll be doing is we will again select all these three layers. We'll right click on all the layers and select convert to smart object. Now again this entire set of objects become a single object. Right. Now the last thing we'll be doing is we will also create a pot. Just a simple pot we'll be creating, and we will try to adjust the shape of the pot here. So something like this. And we will also give some gradient color to the pot. So we'll give a brownish gradient, dark brown and medium brown. So something like this. Right. Now we will create a duplicate of the flower. and we will flip this flower. We'll make it small. You can just scale it a little bit, and we'll take one more flower here. We will flip it. We'll make it into a very small flower, or something like this, and we can keep it to the left side, so something like this. We can slightly rotate the center flower. Right. Now we will select all these layers again, and we will again create one single small object. We can make it big, and we can take one more duplicate of it and we can flip it. So we can create a garden if we want. So something like this. So here we have created a number of shapes using pen tool. After creating several shapes with pen tool, we'll again come back to the first shape, which is the heart shape. Let me quickly create the heart shape, this time without any reference. And we will use the direct selection tool and adjust these points. So something like this. So now let's see some more interesting options in pen tool. So here we can see these points, or we can say handles. These handles are created when we drag, not when we click. If we drag with pen tool, we get these handles. So if we move one of these handles or one of these points, we can see how the shape is changing. Right now the shape is changing on both sides, on top side as well as on the bottom side. Sometimes we want to change the shape only on one side. So how we can do that? We need to just hold Alt in PC or Option in Mac, and then just drag one of the points. So we can see here. If we drag one of the points, now we can see. Now if we move that point, only one side of the shape is changing. So we can see here. So now we have turned our heart shape into a shield shape. So something like this. So our heart has become a shield. Again, we can bring back the points to their original position. Means again, if we try to move the point, both sides of the shape has to be changed. So for that we have to use the convert point tool, and we'll select the convert point tool and just click at the center point and drag it again. So again, if we select these points and move, select any one point and move, the shape is changing on top as well as at the bottom. And again, if you want to just make the point affect only one side of the shape, so we have to again hold Alt in PC or Option in Mac and drag that point. So this is how we can break the points, by holding Alt and moving that point or moving any particular point. So we can get different shapes like this. Right. And there is also one more thing that we can do. So let's create a leaf shape this time. So here is the leaf shape. And when we are creating a leaf shape and when we are dragging, so we can see here, if I drag this point or one of the points. So see how the shape is expanding. So what we can do is we can also make one point a little bit short. So how we can do that? We can simply hold Alt in PC or Option in Mac and then just drag one of the points or drag the active point. So now this point has become short. So this is another way of controlling the points or adjusting the shape. And there is also one more thing that we can do, that is when we are creating, let's say, a heart shape, and here if I drag, I get the handles on both sides or the points on top side as well as on the bottom side. If I want a point only on one side, the extra points only on one side, so what we can do is we can simply hold Alt in PC or Option in Mac and then click on that particular point. Click on the center point. And again, if I drag like this, and if I want only one-sided handle or one-sided point, I can hold Alt in PC or Option in Mac and then click on the center point. So that now we see only one-sided handles or one-sided points. Now we got a basic understanding of how to use the pen tool and what are the essential options of pen tool. Now we will see the another option. So here we have already seen the shape. Now there is one more option, that is path. So we can use this path option for selecting the subjects. So here we will use pen tool this time to select this subject, this eagle. So for that we have to keep the option as path. Shape is only used to create different shapes. So now let's select the path and let's create a path around this subject. So for that we have to first start at this point, and here we have to create a path. This is same like creating a shape, but you should just carefully draw the path around the edges of the subject, and we should also ensure that we don't create too many points on the subject. And if we check here, I'm dragging this point a lot, and what I can do is I can make this point a little bit short. I can make one of the point or the active point a little bit short by simply holding Alt and just to drag it like this. Right. And now let me create one more point here. So just create one more point here, and again we'll make the active point short by simply holding Alt or Option in Mac and then making it small, and again we will continue creating the path. We'll come here again. So if we drag, see, now one of the point has become very long. So what we'll do, we'll again hold Alt and make the active point a little bit short. And let's complete the path around the subject just by clicking the last point over the first point. That's it. So now we have created a path. Now let's add some more points over this path so that we can create a proper path around the subject. So you can see here. So activate the pen tool and then just click on this empty area to create a path. And again we can use Control and just to drag the point. Control or Command and drag the point. Control will activate the direct selection tool. So something like this. So here we have now created a path around this subject. So once we got a path, now we have to convert this path to a selection. So how we can do that? To convert the path to a selection, we can use a keyboard shortcut, which is Control Enter in PC or Command Enter in Mac. So now we have converted the path to a selection. Now I can simply activate my move tool and drag this selection inside a fresh document or a new document. So something like this. So this is how we can do selections around the subjects. And there is also another way of converting the path to a selection. So what we'll be doing is, we'll first open the paths panel. So where is the paths panel? We can go to window and here we have the paths. So here is the paths panel. So let me create one more path around the same subject. So I will quickly create a path around this subject. So let's say I want to break this handle. I can simply hold Alt and PC or Option and Mac and click at the center point. Now we got only one-sided handle. So again I can just drag one more point and I can break this point. I can just continue creating the path. So we need to end at the point where we have started. Right, and we can also add some extra points and we can adjust these points. So something like this. Right, so this time we'll be using this paths panel to convert this path to a selection. So how we can do that? So here at the bottom of the paths panel, we have the option load path as a selection. So see here, we have now converted the path to a selection. So one good thing about this option is we can also again convert the selection to a path. So how we can do that? At the bottom of the paths panel, we have the option make work path from selection. So again, if you want to do some editing, means we want to create a proper path around the subject, we can again convert the selection to a path just by clicking on this option. So see, we are back to the path. Right. So there is also one more thing that we can understand here. See, if we try to select the same subject with another selection tool, for example, if we try to select this subject with quick selection tool, we can select this subject faster than the pen tool. Then what is the need of using the pen tool? So see here, let's try to select it first with the quick selection tool. So here we have the option select subject. Just with one click we can create a selection around the subject. But if we want to just modify the points of the selection, we have to convert the selection to a path. So how we can do that? So in the paths panel, we have to click on this make work path from selection. So we have converted the selection again to path. So this time we can see here the selection we have created is with quick selection tool, and when we have converted the quick selection tool selection into a path, we can see too many points here. When we are creating the path around the subject, we don't create these many points. We create minimum number of points. So that is the difference. Here too many points are there, and to adjust these many points, it will be a little bit difficult task. So Pentool is not a perfect selection tool. There are many other selection tools which are better than Pentool, but in some cases, for some images, Pentool is very much useful, especially when you have a complex background and if we have to select subjects that are appearing over a complex background, we can use the Pentool. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please do like, subscribe, share, and if you have anything to say, do comment. See you again.